Hello, this is Josie with Monica's Hope Ministry, and I'm going to show you today something that my grandmother taught me how to make. And you might, excuse me, you might say, what has this got to do about the conversion of souls? Well, I'm going to tell you that my grandmother was a woman of faith, as was my stepmother, who both taught me how to cook. So I just thought it would be a nice way to share part of my heritage, part of who I am, part of why I'm doing this. And we're all connected as part of the body of Christ. So this is a part of me that I'm sharing with you. So when I was about 6 years old, I climbed up in a chair on my grandmother's little tiny galley kitchen. And I remember asking her, how do you make that? And what she was making was pimento cheese. If you're not from the South, you may not know what pimento cheese is. But if you are from the South, I make the best there is because I have a secret. But first of all, let me tell you what the ingredients are. You're going to start with block cheese. You can really use any flavored cheese you want. Some people mix cheeses. My father would add cream cheese to his. I prefer extra sharp cheddar. Basic, simple. The other main ingredient you're going to use is pimentos. These are sweet red peppers, but you can buy the little jars, big jars. My grandmother always bought the bigger pieces of pimento and ground them herself. You're going to use ground pepper, a little splash of vinegar that gives it just a little bit of tartness to it, and she always put just a touch of sugar in it. But the secret ingredient is mayonnaise. You can't use anything else. You cannot use what's called salad dressing. You have to use mayonnaise. And you can only use Duke's. It is the secret to Southern cooking. When I moved to Maryland over 30-some years ago, I couldn't find Duke's mayonnaise, and I was scandalized. I didn't know how to cook. But in the last few years, it has become available in other places outside of the South. I used to go home and buy it by the case and bring it back with me. But Duke's mayonnaise, it makes all the difference. So you can see here I've already grated the cheese. But you're going to say, how did I grate it? This, my friends, is the key to making good pimento cheese. This is an old-fashioned meat grinder, and I'm going to show you. This belonged to my grandmother. It was one of the things I wanted most that had belonged to her. But it comes with several different little connectors, but this one is the key. What happens when you run your, and it's worth the time, when you run your cheese through the grater, or through the grinder, excuse me, you do not want to grate your cheese. You want to grind it. Think of ground beef, ground hamburger. You've probably seen videos or in old movies, and you might even have an attachment on your KitchenAid. I do it the old-fashioned way. Stick your cheese in here, and you just start grinding it, and you can see the little spindles that are coming out. The little ropes. It's almost, where do you think they got the idea for Play-Doh, right? Where do you think they get the idea for Play-Doh? So you might need to smush it in there a little bit. My hands are clean. It's my kitchen. We used to make this on what we called my grandmother's back porch. I'm from a little town in North Carolina called Washington. It's the original Washington, founded in 1776. It's on the eastern seaboard on the Pamlico River. And my grandparents were married in 1927, and they actually bought a house through the Sears catalog and had it built. And eventually they had a old back porch, and it eventually became screened in, and then they added windows to it. So you see these wonderful curls that come out. My friends, that is the key. When you grate cheese, the cheese comes out flat. This cheese is fluffy. It's almost like a pasta. So what we're going to do now, we're going to take a couple of these peppers and do the same thing. Now they get a little gooky because they're watery. You can also use the juice from the peppers instead of the vinegar if you would rather. That also gives you the opportunity to have a little sweetness. You can avoid the sugar because you've already got the sweetness in the pimentos. It's coming out a little mushy here, but that's okay. You can chop them if you prefer. This was one of my favorite things to make with my grandmother. And I just remember connecting the meat grinder to the table in the back. We always used pieces of newspaper to collect the liquid and the mess. And it was a little bit of a trouble, if you will, but it was well worth the issues. So it was not uncommon for us on a Sunday evening to have a pimento cheese sandwich for dinner. You can eat pimento cheese on crackers. My favorite way, of course, is on a spoon. But well-known thing in the South is pimento cheese. I'm almost done here. I'm using a huge jar. I like a lot of pimentos in my pimento cheese. It gives it a little bit of the extra flavor. It also adds a little bit of the liquid. The cheese will absorb a lot of the liquid that is in however you make it. So, and here comes the easy part. You start putting it all together. So I'm going to stick this pan under there to get some of the drips. I've never done a video like this. Thank you for hanging in there with me. Very impromptu. It happens to be a special day in our family. Our third granddaughter was born today. So we're going to add, you can drain the pimentos before, then you don't get quite the liquid. But as you do, add it to your cheese. You don't want to stir it, you want to lift it because you don't want to squish the cheese. I'm telling you, my brothers have said that I make pimento cheese just like my grandmother did. And that's exactly how she did it. Is she used a meat grinder and she fluffed it. So you got a good little mixture here. And this was 2 pounds of cheese. This is going to make a good portion of pimento cheese. I'm going to go ahead and add the liquid because I do like the liquid. And the cheese will absorb it because cheese has a lot of salt in it. And it will absorb a lot of your moisture. But I'm going to be sharing it with people when we go down to see the new baby. Duke's mayonnaise. Here's a good plug for Duke's. Now once again, it's going to depend on how firm or loose you like it. I happen to be a big mayonnaise fan. I like mine a little loose. Some people don't. It just doesn't sit well with them. Before you stir it too much, start adding your other ingredients because it's one of the keys to pimento cheese is also not overdoing it. You would think this is such a simple thing. We're not talking a souffle here, but the more you work it, the flatter those curls get. So it makes sense to kind of do it as quickly as possible. Now I'm going to do it like my grandmother did. Add just a little bit of sugar. And once again, apple cider vinegar. We did use the juice from the pimentos, but this gives it a little bit of tartness. Doesn't take much. Also helps liquefy it, or loosen it, I really kind of meant to say. And you spoon it up. And my friends, that's it. A simple Southern delight. You can change it up. You can add things to it. I'm going to have some fun today and make another batch using, these are like chopped olives and all kinds of things. It's called a muffaletta, which is a Louisiana, specifically kind of New Orleans mixture that they put on sandwiches. I'm going to make another batch of pimento cheese using the muffaletta to kind of give it a little different zing. So that's it. It's so simple, so heartwarming, brings back a lot of memories to me, and it gave me a little bit of chance to share who I am with you. Have a great day.